the IITs were like obviously out, right? So the NITs were out as well. Like I didn't even explore. I had like zero hopes, and then it's like I am left at my home without employment, without any hope. Masters was like the second chance, but now where do I go for it? And also remember, my father retired, so we were in a financially tight situation, right? So I was worried about that as well. So being useless, being hopeless, and being financially broke, all of that came at once, which was not fun. I would just summarize it this way: you can always crawl out of hell 1 inch at a time.
So here we have listed sort of, almost all the companies which we have collectively appeared for and gone through the hiring and interview process. And our goal here would be to sort of go through, each and every one of us interview experience and hopefully shed some light on how it all works. So with that, yeah, let's get started. Uh, so I'm just randomly selecting here, Piyush maybe. So if he can go
Sure.
over his experience.
Very
Yeah,
random.
yeah, very random.
Okay. Okay,
I
perfect.
threw a dice, your name came up. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway.
yeah, as we all know. Okay, fair. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Hmm.
so
So
Piyush,
how
if
should we
you
approach
can.
this? Yeah.
Mhm. So I think instead of just directly jumping into the interview experience, I think it would also help if you can
Mhm.
go through how your bachelor's looked like.
Okay.
Then you also appeared for masters, but I think in between you
Right.
also had one job, right?
Right.
So what made you pursue masters? What was your thinking process like back
Right.
then? And
Right.
how did you prepare for the upcoming companies in your masters, and what all
Hmm.
companies you applied for, what was the interview process like, and how did you end up in Google?
All
uh,
right.
I
Okay.
think
So we
mhm.
hmm. Just to reiterate, then we are talking about my journey right from my bachelor's all the way to the current position.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay, fair, fair. So maybe, what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and mark the companies that I've interviewed at,
Mhm.
and then we can draw like a timeline and go through that. So,
Yeah, awesome.
Intel is a company I interviewed for.
Mhm.
I interviewed for. Uh, Amazon and Synopsys. Well, also Qualcomm actually. So Qualcomm I've interviewed for. Google
Mhm.
obviously. Nvidia also. Microsoft I haven't. Samsung I haven't.
Mhm.
Bosch nope. Texas Instrument, Western Digital. Yeah, KC I interviewed for. Uh, Mathworks I interviewed for.
Mhm.
And what else? Broadcom I didn't. AMD I didn't. Um, okay. And then now let me maybe highlight the companies I had offer from. So I
Mhm.
had offers from Intel, ARM, Qualcomm, Amazon. I did not have offer. Google I did. Nvidia I did.
Are you sure you had offer
That's
from
all.
Google?
Mm, I don't know.
Okay.
They just let me work here.
Okay.
Oh, I don't have an offer. I had. I took it.
Hmm.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's that. Okay, so now so these are like the companies that we'll touch upon. So no, I didn't have an offer from here, right?
Hmm.
So we'll touch upon these companies in that entire story. So let's maybe start. So 2009, I joined GHRCE, which is GH Raisoni College of Engineering, Nagpur, right?
Hmm.
So that was the college I joined, and I took up electrical engineering. And I took up electrical engineering because I loved it. Right. So as a kid, I
Hmm.
was into light bulbs and motors. Those were
Mhm.
my favorite, and I thought that I should be pursuing electronics. But the amazing kid that I was, I did not do well on the entrance exams, and like this was So out of the 20 colleges I applied for, right? So back then I was in Maharashtra. So out of all the
Hmm.
20 colleges I applied for in first round, so the idea was that if you get placed or get a seat in the first
Hmm.
10 colleges, you have to take it. It was like mandatory.
Hmm. Hmm.
And if you don't, you can try, other colleges, or next round you can
Oh,
try in the next
okay.
round. And if you get a seat in the later half, like 11 through 20, then you can reattempt if you want to. So you had that option, right? So
Hmm. Hmm.
um, 𝙬𝙬 was the 19th college, right? And the first 10 colleges were like, out of my reach. Well, actually,
Hmm.
first 18 were out of my reach. Um, so what I ended up doing was I lived in Chandrapur. So Chandrapur and Nagpur, where 𝙬𝙬 is. So that is
Hmm.
125 kilometers away. And I thought, if I study in Nagpur, then I will be able to come back home on weekends.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that was my priority in life back then. And what I
Get
did
all the
was
clothes,
yes,
gets all
it's
all
like
the clothes washed at home. Yeah, that's
yes,
what
Yeah.
of course, yeah.
Yes.
Screw up until Friday and
Yeah.
then come back home, recover, go back to college on Monday.
Hmm.
Uh, okay, so what I did was I took the 19th option and moved it to the 10th option.
Okay.
Oh, actually, not 10th option, pardon me. It was the 11th option.
Oh, I see.
11th
So
or
you
11th
you
or yeah,
chose the best approach where it would also let you go to the next round.
right,
If
right,
okay.
yeah. But the funny part
But
is, yeah, go ahead, Dev.
was it internal sliding or something?
Uh,
Different
s- well,
phases of
before
counseling.
before I could submit the form, uh, you know, um, okay, so I just have to, right. Does it look better?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Looks better.
what I was going to, yeah, the internal sliding, right? So no, what do you mean by internal sliding?
It's like you get some branch and then you
No, 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 no.
some
This was
opt out and then
not
you get
that.
it. Huh.
No, no, no. This was not that. This was like this was part of the counseling process, right? So where I had to select the college first and then also submit the branch. So I had
Hmm.
submitted like electronics and electrical blah 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 in various top institutes,
Hmm.
and then the 11th one, there's some background noise from someone.
So
Yeah.
by any chance, did you select CS as a you know
Nope. No.
top preference? No.
No. CS
That's how
was
you
not on
lied.
my list. Yeah.
That's how you
I
lied.
was.
So
Yeah. Go ahead.
the only motors you get in computer is the fan, which is
Right.
used to cool off the yeah
Yeah.
the process. So no
Yeah.
chance Piyush would select that. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I was very clear. Electricity is what I wanted to be around,
Hmm.
and my decisions were mostly on what uncertainties can I handle. So with respect to electricity, I was like, I'll
Hmm.
handle the pain if it comes, and I had
Yeah.
no idea the kind of pain that would come my way. It's just we'll see now. So yeah, the
Hmm.
11th option was the one that I happened to get in the first round, and
Hmm.
then I was so excited about electrical engineering. Well, I did not get electronics again because in the same institute, because the amazing score that I had in the entrance exam, but I did get electrical engineering, and I was so tired and demotivated
Hmm.
looking at the whole counseling process that I just decided to stick with this option and move ahead. So
Hmm.
then 2009 through 2013, I was doing electrical engineering, right?
Hmm.
So 2013 I passed out, and uh, in my final semester, we didn't have like great companies coming over back then. So I got rejected in TCS. Okay, so I sat like I appeared for their mass hiring event. TCS. I remember the question that got me out. So the question was, hey, we have offices in many different places, and would you go to a place that we draft you to? And
Hmm.
me being me, I was just very honest. I said, hey, if it is close to the sea, I wouldn't want to, because my parents are in Chennai, and the humidity doesn't suit me.
Hmm.
And the recruiter was like, what if we draft you anyways? And then I was like, okay, if you cannot take care of your people, then I cannot join you. And
Hmm.
it was like, bye. So
Hmm.
I didn't get into TCS also.
Hmm.
But then after that, there was a local company called KEC, which is into tower manufacturing. They manufacture the parts of the tower, the electrical transmission towers. So I
Hmm.
worked there
Hmm.
for 6 months. Right? And the way I got that job was,
And where was this company? In Nagpur?
this is in Nagpur. Yeah, this was their
Okay.
Nagpur branch. Right, so this is in Nagpur, and so they interviewed me, and this was an open, off-campus, open, interviewing, and there were like 600 people who appeared.
Hmm.
Then they had like, I don't recall now, but I think they had a written test, which had
Hmm.
some questions relating to electrical engineering, followed by a group discussion. And the topic for the group discussion back then was, we have China manufacturing cheaper phones
Hmm.
and then getting into the Indian market.
Hmm.
Do you think that is good or bad? So the side
Hmm.
on which I pivoted was that it is a good thing, because
Hmm.
the affordability of the product,
Hmm.
everyone can afford a cheaper
Hmm.
phone. And now even, let's say, people who are working on the construction side, they also have access to the technology. They can be connected to each other and
Right.
not worry about each other, so on and so forth.
Hmm.
I suppose that somewhere gave me a lot of points, that
Hmm.
I was looking at the bright side of the situation. And
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
then I had a face-to-face round where they asked me about transmission lines, how three-phase power works, and so on and so
Hmm.
forth. But nonetheless, I got into KC. I later
Hmm.
realized,
By any
uh,
chance, Piyush, do you remember
yeah.
the full form of that?
Oh no, I don't.
No.
I
Okay.
don't.
Secondly,
I did
Okay.
not know it back then. I do not know it now.
And
But we can
cool.
look it up. Right?
Hmm.
Okay. So I got in, spent 6 months there, out of which 4 months
Hmm.
were maybe productive. Last two were me trying to
Hmm.
figure my life as to, do
Hmm.
I want this? This was a shop floor job. Right. So they
Hmm.
had this production plant where the steel was
Hmm. Hmm.
being cut, bent, and
Hmm.
galvanized, so on and so forth.
Okay.
And my role there was of,
Hmm.
or rather, I was an engineer in their plant engineering,
Hmm.
department. The idea
Okay.
being that I was part of the team that would just keep the machines running. And
Hmm.
as you can imagine, it was, at least to me, not super exciting,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
the only reason back then I felt I was needed there was to turn the machines on and off,
Hmm.
because you needed to be from an electrical engineering background to be
Hmm.
able to touch the power panels, and that was my only
Oh.
utility. They tried to make me more useful there, but I was not super interested in that. But
Hmm.
then that's when I realized that I must do something else for my future. That
And
was
I,
not
I suppose
exciting.
that is this is where we are going to a very important part of our
Mhm.
today's podcast. I think
Yeah.
we have been getting a few questions as to a few people who are from bachelors. They're asking us, okay, should we pursue masters? Is
All
it
right. Yeah.
worth it? So I think
Well, in Mhm.
you sort of painting what went through your mind back then and what
Right.
made you decide to pursue
Right.
masters would really help the
Right.
people who have that
Correct.
dilemma.
Right. So, so as I mentioned, I was not like a great kid when it came to studying,
Hmm.
11th and 12th. I had messed that up like big
Hmm.
time, quite honestly. And then after that, uh, the electrical engineering that I did, well,
Hmm.
electrical engineering is hard. I got to,
Hmm.
mention that it is tough from the standpoint that there is lot of first time deep mathematics involved,
Hmm. Hmm.
on which you need to dwell and think a lot. And
Hmm.
I because my basics were not so great, I couldn't do justice to acing the electrical engineering. I aced it from the standpoint of exams, but a lot of control system concepts, power machines and power related concepts, I'm studying those still, quite honestly. Right? And now, so the KC, when I left KC, I knew that I have no skills that can get me another job. It's like, where will I go to work? Right? And everywhere else that there was an opportunity, that opportunity I felt was not something I was liking. So then doing masters served as second shot at employment. Right. And one of the things I should mention is, in my final year of engineering, I kind of took the GATE exam and I just accidentally passed. Right. I had like zero hope, but I accidentally passed.
So you
32
had
points.
not at all prepared or done any prior effort in preparing for GATE. Okay.
None of that. I had taken Anant Agrawal's edX course. edX had just come online back then, and they had 5 courses. One of them was like electrical engineering and computer science by Anant Agrawal. I just took that. I felt nice after taking that course. And then next time GATE came around, everybody was appearing for it, and I took it also. Accidentally ended up scoring 32.67. My rank was around 10K. So pretty bad rank, I think. But I was delighted that I just accidentally passed. Right? So there was some self-esteem restored that, I'm not that useless. I can do something. So then when I was contemplating on, quitting KC, the rationale was, okay, I'll appear for GATE again, go for masters, and in masters do well and, get into a company. And a company that pays me, well, and my bar for paying well was 30K. It's like, that's how much I wanted.
So
And I
it
wouldn't
won't
speak as
be
to how much.
so it won't be wrong to say that your college gave you oranges for placement.
Yes. Yeah. It literally.
Just pun intended, because it's
Yes.
Nagpur.
I figured that.
I think people got that. Yeah. I hope people got
Nagpur
that.
is known for oranges. Yes.
Yeah.
So they gave oranges for
How much
placement.
was your salary in KC?
Oh, I don't know if revealing the number is, I would say,
Convert it into oranges.
Oh, okay.
Assume oranges are 30 rupees per kg. How many kg oranges were you getting per month?
Back
30 rupees a kg? You're talking, oh man, math. 30 rupees a kg.
Piyush is like, साला यहाँ गेट का एग्जाम दिलवा रहा है मेरे से.
Maybe 400 kgs.
Maybe
400.
let's okay, 400 kgs. Okay, cool, good enough. Maybe, I don't know. My math is bad. I know differential equations, but this is too hard.
By that is enough. I think that kind of frees us from any liability.
Okay, fair.
Your math is bad. You are approximating 400 kg worth of oranges.
Yes,
Fair.
yes.
Cool.
Yeah, and
So you were approximately looking for 200% increment.
Yeah.
That's huge, man.
Yeah, well, I suppose, I was just there is a background here, which is my father was going to retire when he actually had retired already. And all I wanted was to be on my own at the very minimum. Right. And turned out how much I was earning, well, that kept me afloat, but I had no hopes for the future. Right. In terms of, I was not doing great at that job, wasn't feeling alive actually. So decided to go for masters. All right. So
And Piyush,
2000
before you continue, I have to ask you this question. Had you been in a good company, let's say, where you were intellectually satisfied, you
Right.
saw your path
Right.
ahead in terms of
Right.
what you wanted to do, would
Right.
you have thought about masters
No, I
if that
wouldn't
was the
have.
situation? You wouldn't have.
I wouldn't have. And let me go back to your question on, is a master's degree necessary? like looking back, I don't
Hmm.
think so, quite honestly. I mean, if people
Okay.
want to pursue it, go ahead and pursue it. But
Hmm.
for maybe studying for 2 more years, doing
Hmm.
something more
Hmm. Hmm.
thoroughly, that all is okay. But in terms of effect of the master's degree on your immediate earnings, I don't see a correlation.
Hmm.
If I were to advise any of my juniors, I would say, hey, maybe pursue a master's degree via distance education. That's best.
Hmm.
Keep working if your work is great.
But
Carve out
I
some
think
time, and then
I
on the
will
side
park this
pursue and
question for now. The next question which
pursue
I
that
had in
degree.
mind for now.
So
That's what
that is
I
how I
did
would.
with 𝗋𝗋𝗋𝗋.
Good, good
I
job,
did my master's while working.
good
So
job, man. Good
my
job.
my thought process has been always simple. If I'm gonna do the same job after doing masters, what I'm doing right now, I would rather do my job here and do something
Yes,
part time over there.
yes. No, that
And
is
honestly, I still feel that 𝗋𝗋𝗋𝗋 is a useless paper for me. I didn't learn anything extra from that coursework. It's just
yeah,
a useless paper I keep in my resume.
Hmm.
right, right. Actually, the thing is maybe the way recruitment is structured in general. That is
Yeah.
my observation. Again, not speaking for any company here, which is it's like doing a master's is a signal that you can take on something which is complicated and requires dedication of 2 years, let's say, and you can see it through. So it only speaks about that, in my opinion, right? So again, then does that answer your question, Mohammed? Do you think I justified?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
I think I have one
go
another
ahead.
question, but I will park that until you cover your journey of
Fair,
masters. I think
fair,
I'll ask
fair,
after that.
fair. Okay, so then 2013, I appeared for GATE exam and then went on and worked for KEC. Right, and then in December
Hmm.
of 2013, decided that I should quit.
Hmm.
And then I quit then and moved on, like returned back home. Home
Hmm.
was in Bangalore back then. My parents had moved here.
Hmm.
And which is interesting, I wanted to stay close to my parents. So I took
Hmm.
up engineering in Nagpur, and my father had a
Hmm.
transferable job. So immediately next year, they move, my parents moved to Chennai. And that's
Hmm.
how life can play with you if it wants to.
Yeah.
Right. So I was not stranded, but it was a 17-hour journey via train.
Hmm.
So yeah. So okay. So 2013, I took the exam, 32.67. 10K was my rank. KEC happened. December, I quit. Came back home, studied for 3 months. March, I think, Feb end or March, there was exam, and I took the
Yeah.
exam. Interestingly, I scored 32.67. Same exact score.
Oh, wow.
Seriously.
Right. So,
So,
yep, I do. I will need to look for both the results. It's
Wow.
32.67 down to the decimal. Same. It was so disappointing. But then I suppose the paper was tough, or many people screwed up. Who knows
I
what?
have to make a pun here. Sorry. If I had done the same thing and showed it to my father would be like, "Sale, purana result dikha raha hai." Like,
I was
but anyway.
quite frankly,
Uh,
yeah, I was
मेरे पापा
depressed.
मेरे पापा बोलते पास तो हुआ था.
40%.
33 is the passing.
33 is the
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Man.
So 30, yeah, I've failed. Well, anyways, so the 32.67, and I was staring at this number like at 12 o'clock at night, or early morning. So I was looking at this and I was like, wait, all the decisions I took brought me back to the same number, and now I don't even have a job. So that happened. But then the ray of hope here was my rank was reduced down to 5K. So that
Oh,
was nice, right? So that
that
happened,
suggests
and
the
that's
paper would have been much tougher than the previous years.
yeah, either that or too many people aced it, too many people screwed it, whatever. Anyways, so this 5K was also depressing because, well, the IITs were like obviously out, right? So the NITs were out as well. Like I didn't even explore. I had like zero hopes, and then it's like I am left at my home without employment, without any hope. Masters was like the second chance, but now where do I go for it? And also remember, my father retired, so we were in a financially tight situation, right? So I was worried about that as well. So being useless, being hopeless, and being financially broke, all of that came at once, which was not fun. All right. So then my brother-in-law suggested that I appear for the MOU something exam, which is Manipal University's entrance exam. And I was like, okay, okay, I've screwed up everywhere else. Why not screw up here as well? So 13th of May, I remember, was the last day to send out the form. I filled it 13th morning. It was supposed to be mailed by speed post. So I go there to the post office. The van is like almost, ready to leave, the speed post collection van. So I hand over to them and say, ki, bhai, please take it over. please. Come
Classic
back
movie
home.
scene, man.
Yeah,
Classic
yeah.
movie.
This is dramatic, man. This is on the edge, life on
Yeah.
the line kind of a situation. So then I come back home, write an email to the Manipal University's office, if I recall correctly, and tell them that my application might be late by a day or so. Please accept it. They were kind enough to be like, it's okay, don't worry. We are not, that strict. That's what I derive out of it. But anyways, so I gave the Manipal University exam. I scored, I suppose, 368 or something, 368 rank or something like that. And then
Okay.
because me passing gate, I got advantage. So now we are in the counseling session of the Manipal University, for masters, and all the branches in MIT, the institute, are taken. Right, already taken, nothing left for me, and I'm again hopeless there. So there is this institute called SOIS, School of Information, School of Information,
Science.
blah blah blah, Sciences, right? So they only have, back then they had, this is 2014, right? 2014 we are talking. So they only had courses that are around the semiconductor industry, VLSI, embedded system, some IoT, something, and nobody was picking up any subjects from there. And my brother-in-law kind of nudged me to take VLSI. He suggested that, hey, VLSI pays a lot. And I was like, cool. But I looked at the subject. It was like microelectronics, transistor design. And then given my background of continuously screwing up all the prerequisites, I was like, yeah, this I can pursue on my own, but I wouldn't want it to be, the line of subjects that I need to pass an ace at. And everybody else around me just, seemed so much smarter, even in that room, just because they were picking subjects an institute that I wanted to, and they got the opportunity and I didn't, because of my own doing, obviously. So then I saw that embedded system was available for masters, and I picked that. And my only reason to pick that subject was that I saw the existence of processors there, and it somewhere gave me a hope that I would be able to program processors and have an influence on the world around. Influence meaning glow LEDs and turn motors. So
Piyush,
somewhere,
sorry,
yeah.
I have to cut you off here. One question.
Yeah.
Because you had done your bachelor's in EE, and now you are going to pursue embedded systems.
Right.
At that point in time, how much coding experience would you say you had?
Zero.
Zero.
I had
So
only
you had just kind
only
of okay.
yeah, I had just passed the C language course that we
The
had in
mandatory
EE.
course in
Yeah,
EE.
yeah.
Okay.
That's all. And I understood nothing about the C language. Why 8 bits have 256, 0 to 256 number range, that was out of my, even though I have taken digital electronics, this and that, design circuit, I was dumb. I couldn't add 1 and 1 to 2. I couldn't see that. Right. On an exam, I could do it, but not outside of it. And I felt very sad about my general state. I knew I was an idiot. So C language was the only thing.
Had you heard about like embedded systems, what it would entail and stuff like that
Yeah.
back then while you were selecting the course for your master's?
No, I did not know what
Did
embedded
not.
systems was. Yeah. I did not know formally what programming the CPUs, operating system, and all of that was. I had no idea. By the way, I should also go back and then briefly mention that between December to Feb or March until the exam and until the admissions actually. So admissions was in like August. So what I did was to account for my uselessness and that gap in my education or career. What I did was I pursued a lot of courses on edX, and I pretty much tried to complete as many courses as I could. There was CS50, so I tried to do that. It was very hard. I did 2 lab exercises and I was done. And I was to this day I keep on revisiting this course because it's just so awesome. So I did CS50.
This is Harvard
Yes,
CS50.
Harvard's CS50. The introduction to,
and I think we can recommend to our viewers if there are they are just starting their journey in coding. This is an amazing course.
So
I think go ahead.
Well, I was going to mention I didn't complete this course, but I was in awe of what computer science people can do. It was just amazing. They start off with scratch and then go all the way to web development. And the second problem set was on printing the Mario pyramid full of stars in C language. And it took me it took me like 48 hours or some 3-4 days to just achieve that. And but throughout, when I look back, I think the only thing that I did correctly was go back and pursue all the subjects that I was bad at. I did not abandon them. I went back and studied the calculus again, the physics again, just so that I could respect my own self. And 10 years later, I'm very thankful to the kid, the 20-year-old me,
that person
who pursued all of that.
And I think if I after listening to all this, if I were to describe you, like 21-year-old Piyush, just one word description would be perseverance. Would that be correct?
Yes. I liked electrical engineering and the subjects related to it to the point that I didn't abandon them. If I get a chance to go back and do my engineering again, I'll still choose electrical engineering. Hands down, done. And this time I'll ace it left and right.
Kudos to you, man. Kudos to you.
Thank you. Kudos to the kid.
This is
right. So, then I picked up embedded system only because I saw hope of programming the CPU and affecting the world around. And then, C language, I had zero experience with it. They taught us C language for like a week, which I understood only until the point when file operations got involved. Then I was lost. Right?
Who needs file operations?
I could not understand how does anyone know which function to call and what parameters to pass. Even though now I realize it's just API signature and you just got to comply by that. But back then it was difficult for me. And then there is a Stanford course, programming paradigms or something. So I ran into that accidentally, and I think it was Jeremy Kane or some professor, I don't recall. We'll add the link to that course in the description.
Add the link.
So I accidentally saw like 2-3 videos from that series on pointers, and my mind blew up. I mastered pointers to the point that that's it, done. I can solve anything pointers as a kid in embedded system, that course. And that gave me a lot of credibility among my peers. They respected me and so on and so forth. So we had subjects on Linux, C obviously, processors, computer architecture, systems programming, which is compiler and all of that. All of these back then were more like, let me pass just so that I can qualify to get a job. Right? And then January of 2015, Intel shows up for internship, opportunities. And I had I was very scared of appearing for Intel. One of my I should go back and explain one more thing, which is I was the second student to opt embedded system in that institute, and for the first first 10% of the crowd or so, they also had like a 50% fees waived off.
Fee
Discount as
waiver
fee
or-
waiver. And if you
Hmm.
were in like the toppers again, the second year's fee would be what is it, 50% only.
Okay. Okay.
And I wanted that.
Hmm.
I so desperately wanted that, and my attempts to there have been times of being in tears, crying and all of that happened because it's so hopeless when you're dealing with subjects that you don't know anything about, right? And professors were great. But remember that, just understanding the subject was not enough for me. I had to ensure that I ace it just so that I get scholarship next year also. Right.
Scholarship
Right.
next year. Yeah.
And then there was this subject DSP, digital signal processing, involved. And anybody dealing with it for the first time, point blank, can tell you that there's just complex numbers involved,
Yeah.
discrete, all of that. Very
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah.
Anyways, so January, thankfully my CGPA or whatever GPA was good. My score was like around 9.2 something. I think so, 9 point something, whatever. So Intel
Nice.
shows up. I had zero hopes of making it through. I was looking for someone that pays me 30K long term. So, just survival money as internship. That was the hope, 2015. And then I interview for Intel only because the person who took this course before me, where is that? So the first person to take the course, he's in AMD Canada now, one of my best buddies, right?
Okay.
Jay Arbindo, if he's listening. So I was very inspired by him.
Hi, man.
Right? So he was into Linux kernel and all of that. And I was like, man, how can you be aware of all of this? He was just excited about it. He didn't have, I suppose he also had one patch submitted or some Intel processor, something he had submitted. Yeah.
Oh, to you mainline
I
Linux?
think so. Don't quote me on this, but I think yes.
Okay.
And I was dazzled. And I was like, how can you make sense of all of this? And he was like, it's easy. And like, what easy, man? I can't, make 1 and 1, 2. But I just followed him. I took him as my inspiration and I just followed along. I would discuss a lot with him. And I learned a lot from him. And I was sweating as to getting a job. And he said, I would want to go join Intel. And I was like, man, big dreams. Okay.
Sorry, you mean
Jay.
your friend
Yes.
Jay said he would like to
Yes,
join Intel,
yes.
and that became your sort of dream as well.
Not
Like,
dream.
hey,
It's
if
like
you
I'll just follow
dream.
him. Whatever
Follow
he
him,
does,
okay.
I'll just follow him. Now the funny thing was when Intel, came over and they shortlisted, he wasn't shortlisted and I was shortlisted. That's how
Okay.
life works. And I'm seated. Yeah,
Life is,
I'm seated there and I'm wondering,
Yeah.
the one who deserves to be in. Like you should not even interview him. He has an Intel T-shirt. I don't.
Yeah.
From some conference he had. So I was like, you should just point blank take him in. So the professors.
Would just
Sorry, go ahead.
would just interfere once. So the funny point is 2015 was the time even when we were looking for our placements in my bachelor's. And we all used to, and this was the time when Intel used to be the legend company in semiconductor industry.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And we used to be like, एक बार Intel में हो जाए उसके बाद कहीं नहीं जाऊंगा.
Yes, I'll retire from
And
there.
today is the situation. Intel is the last place I look for.
Because of the Qualcomm,
A lot of things. Like after working with so many professionals and them talking so much bad about Intel,
fair. But I think
I feel like Intel will be the last place I will join.
Fair. I would still, I think I had great experience with Intel and all of my old colleagues are still there. So I think there is something good about that work group. Anywho, let's move forward then. So I'm seated there, Jay is not around, professors do something, negotiate and all of that. And they bring in a lot of, other people also. They qualify and bring them in. And I'm happy that Jay is there, but I'm completely sweating because now 30, 40 other smarty pants are there. Right. And when Intel interviews
So I
Yeah.
suppose, Piyush, here they would have allowed from all the branches which
Open floor.
MIT had to
Yes.
offer
Yes.
open floors.
So we were about like
Okay.
300-ish people in that room. I
Hmm.
had experience with writing 10 lines of C code as my project. Rest were written by Jay. I just I was that person who was slacking away in the project. Uh,
Hmm.
What was shortlisting
I think
criteria?
it was, I don't recall, but 12th class percentage, in engineering
Hmm.
percentage, and the
Hmm.
CGPA in masters.
CGPA. Hmm.
Oh, I should also mention my master's was not, ME or MTech. It was
Hmm.
MSc Tech. So originally it was supposed to be MS,
Interesting.
but they gave away accreditation or some legal stuff happened. They gave away one of the
Hmm.
accreditations, something like that. And MSc Tech is what School of Information Technology was offering
Wow.
back then. I think things have changed now. So it was like a 3-year
Hmm.
course, but if you have bachelor's
Hmm.
degree like BE or BTech, then you join on the second year. And they don't even have first year in
Oh,
SOIS,
okay.
right? They just start off with second year and go to third year.
Second.
And then the second year is like on campus, right? In the second semester, you get the companies for internship. And the third year is spent in your internship, complete 1 year.
Internship.
So then MIT and SOIS people are there, all smarty pants are there, I'm sweating.
Hmm.
My turn comes, there are 2 interviewers, okay, let me erase this. I can draw better. So there are 2 interviewers, right? And then there is me sweating. Okay.
Happy
Yes,
faces.
they were happy.
And what would be your
Man,
face like?
I was just, heartbeats
Yeah.
were
Still,
very high.
Hmm.
Like,
Through the roof, yeah.
man, I was like entering a portal when I entered for that interview. It was more like either I'm through or I'm not, which means I am an Intel intern or I'm useless, one of the two. And yeah, so they interviewed me. They asked me basic C questions, variable related, string related, uh, where is which variable stored. What I did was I solved the problems very slowly. I talked to them. I did not ask them for guidance. What I did was I looked at the question first, reiterated it once, just to confirm that I have understood it correctly. So this is what you want me to find out. And they were like, yes, you got that right. I suppose what happened in that conversation is, Balaji, who later happened to be, he was one of my interviewers, and he later happened to be my mentor, and I'm still connected to him today. Just amazing person. So then I think somewhere he picked on the fact that I'm very cooperative when it comes to working together. I listen, accommodate for the request, don't freak out. Even if I don't know something, I'll be like, all right, let's consider it. Let's move forward. Let's find out more information about this. But I don't outright, freeze and say, no, sorry.
Outright.
So I don't do that.
And I suppose, I would want to stop at this point and sort of reiterate on what you did. And I'm sure in one of our previous podcasts, we did give out this suggestion to the people who are appearing for interview, right?
Right. What timing?
Like, be
The audio
honest.
screwing up. Go ahead. You were not
Oh,
audible.
crap.
Could you repeat? Yeah.
Okay, I will repeat. So I think at this point I just wanted to stop and sort of reiterate on what you just said. It's like and how to be in the interviews. I think we kind of touched upon this in our previous podcast as well, where we were talking about interviews. Is sort of listen carefully, reiterate, make sure you understand what they are asking, and just be attentive and try to solve problem. That's it, right? Be genuine.
Yes.
And I suppose that's what you did
Correct.
back
Be
then.
genuine and honest. Don't try and fool
Honest.
the interviewer, and more importantly, don't fool yourself. Right. I think once we stop doing that, things go up from there. Anyway, so they asked me, questions of those nature, C related. They wanted to just check basics of C. They asked me pointers related question. I could nail those obviously because of watching the online. That happened. They asked me structs, unions, bit fields, typecast, pointer typecast, strings related question, this, that. One of the things that I could not answer is where the variables would go. Right. I didn't know like a straightforward answer to it. What I did was I stated what all I know and I'm roughly aware of. And then based on that information, I was like, okay, based on what I know, I think it will go on the stack. And I suppose that somewhere, gave me an edge in terms of kind of in ambiguous situations, still trying and making progress. So yeah,
how
that
did
was
you
it,
react
and I
to
got into
that
Intel. That was my
where you
Intel
didn't
internship
know the
experience. Interview experience. For 1 year,
It was just one interview.
Yes, there was only one interview for 1 or 1.5 hours. So it was like quite a long interview, and they tried to probe different things. But I suppose at some point they were just convinced that they would want to have me. I didn't know that. I did not want to assume that, given my history of screwing up continuously. So 10 o'clock in the evening, we are all waiting there, still one by one, the names are being called out. I also, by the way, had an HR round, just so they wanted to make sure, I'm cooperative and not hostile, like easy to work with kind of person. So that was that. 10 o'clock, they announced the results. Jay is obviously in, bunch of other friends are in, 6 people. I think they hired 20 people out of the 300-ish. And, 6 or 7 of them were from SOIS, or 13 of them were from SOIS. It was a huge chunk. And I was one among them. And I was so relieved, that finally all the leap of faith that I took back in December has paid off a year later. At least I have a chance now. I have a break. And okay, so I joined Intel. I'm asked to.
Piyush, sorry, I think this is the point where I would like to bring the question which I had parked earlier. So with that, I think your masters was sort of done, because the next year you are going to spend in internship, right? So the question was, do you think, given that you and I also in that sense did bachelor's from not so known college, doing masters from a reputed institute at least helped you in getting considered for companies or organizations which would not have been possible otherwise had you just gone after bachelor's?
Yes and no. I think times have changed now. The market is open for all, and if you showcase your abilities and pursue there is effort required. You got to pursue few people, this, that. But if you can showcase your work on, let's say, GitHub, or contribute to open source and something like that, your chances improve by a lot. It's not that everybody who did a master got a job either, right? That didn't happen. But it was definitely second shot at employment. And quite honestly, when I was getting into the course, I didn't even know what the placement rate was. It was more like, whatever company comes here, I just want a better pay, 30K. That is how it was, right? So I just went with my gut feelings all along and stayed very close to the subject I'm passionate about, which is electrical engineering, right? All right. So 1 year spent in kind of internship, and that 1 year, so 2015 to 2016, I'm doing my internship. My project was writing a memory manager for some firmware. I didn't even know what firmware was. Now I understand it, but firmware is just C code written for like a processor and all of that. But I got a chance to write memory manager. Then after that, do some simulation related things. I only worked very closely for 6 months, and after that I just hid myself in the lab, right? And my mentor understood that. He understood that what I was trying to do was prepare for interviewing, prepare to become better and all of that.
Hmm.
And I had enough to showcase on my resume in terms of
Hmm.
being valuable, right? And the memory manager, well, whatever, I think it became useful later in some product and all of that. I don't know, where all it is now. But he was happy with
Hmm.
me. All the seniors were nice and humble people.
Hmm.
So they were happy with me. I hid in the lab, worked on. I went back and tried to revise every bit of thing, C language, Linux, here and there. I understood
Hmm.
none of that, but I would just keep on pursuing it. FPGAs, where they are used, how to program one, this, that, Vim, Bash scripting,
And
Python. Yeah.
and this was your main intention there to sort of prepare for the
Yes.
interviews you were going to appear
Yes.
for, or you wanted to gain that
Yeah.
knowledge just for
No,
gain knowledge's sake,
survival had taken over, and I was doing everything
survival?
just
Okay.
to crack the interviews, right?
Hmm.
And by the way, the whole point is we did not know if in the current team we would get opportunity and be converted to full time, and I did not want to take that chance.
So there was that
Yes,
uncertainty.
yes.
Okay.
And the funny thing is, everyone who joined different teams with me from SOIS, the 6 or 13 of us, every one of them got a job in the first. They were offered in the first 8 months, right? Someone's manager took them on a walk and then said, "Hey, I would want you to continue working here after your internship is done. Here's the offer letter." So all of that was very depressing to me. That hey, when will this happen to me?
Man, life has thrown shit at you at
Early on,
every
yeah,
stage,
yeah,
right? It
yeah.
shows.
And
Yeah.
I'm glad that all of that
Okay.
shitty stuff happened with me, because I realize now that I know all the nooks and corners of how to, what should you do to at least be useful on a team.
I, I suppose it has made you much
Yes.
stronger,
Yes.
compared to, let's say, like me. I cannot imagine myself sort of handling that much of a pressure
I
at
think
every stage till then.
everyone ends up doing it, once you're thrown in that. You might, like in my case, I would say I'm lucky from the standpoint that I circled back and I'm exactly doing what as a child I would want to do, which is, light up light bulbs, turn a motor around, program a CPU, be the Iron Man and Tony Stark, essentially, right? So I'm somewhere along that path. Of course, I'm not, as much of an expert, but trying to, my work aligns with that. Okay, so everyone's getting placed. I'm the only one who hasn't got placed yet, and I'm in the lab, shying away from the usual work, somehow managing it, writing my thesis, blah blah blah, all of that. Now here, so we are talking about June of 2015 to June of 2016. So around
2016.
sorry, May of 2016, not June. June would be like the last month. So March, around that time frame, I got interviewed with the local team, some other Intel team. They asked me questions on transmission lines. It was like a board design team, somewhere on the board design and the collaterals management kind of team. Asked me about transmission lines, circuits, op amps, electrical engineering rules, three-phase current, Ohm's law.
Which you had not touched
No,
after your
no.
E.
So, but the fact that I loved those subjects, I had the rough idea and I could build the answers on the fly. And they liked me for the fact that I was okay with ambiguity. I was okay with changing constraints. So they offered me a position and I was happy about it. And I waited on my offer.
And this was within
Within
Intel.
Intel.
Within Intel, but
Yes.
a board
Yes.
design team.
And so they offered me a position. They said that they'll send over. Then funny thing happens. I wait 8 days. Nothing shows up. No communication. I'm ghosted completely. Not ghosted per se, but they had nothing to communicate, right? Then I called up the manager and was like, "Hey, I'm waiting on it. What's the status?" And the answer is, "Hey, Piyush, you know what? We have a hiring freeze in our group. And for those reasons, we won't be able to extend you an offer." And that was like back to square one, man. I was like, maybe, this pain is.
So just to paint the picture, this is like I think last second month of your internship.
60 days to go.
Your job
Yeah.
is still 60 days to go. Your job is still like completely
Uncertain.
sorry
Yeah.
uncertain. Yeah, completely uncertain. Your other colleagues or your classmates, back from the college, all have gotten an offer extended to them, and you are just the only
Yeah.
one who got selected into some other
Right.
team but had the offer rescinded because of the
Right.
freeze.
And
Okay.
they had told me their packages, and I was like, man, I just want that because my
Want to.
financial worries would be solved, and my dream number was like 30K. Let's just put it this way, it was way more than 30K. Yeah. So
We can go back and talk about how many oranges you can buy from that salary.
Yeah.
okay,
So I think 30K would be like
800K,
what
800K.
800, yeah, 800
Right.
kilograms.
So I could afford
So
1600 kilograms. Yeah.
1600. Okay.
Many oranges. Yeah,
Many
oranges for years. Anyways, so that's that, and I so desperately wanted it, but what I didn't know was how to go about getting an opportunity, which is what every fresher struggles with, right? If not placed through campus. So what I figured was I spent time doing Git projects, meaning I wrote a kernel driver, just a simple character driver, put it on GitHub, added that to my resume, saying, because I saw a lot of people were working where kernel was involved. So I was like, okay, maybe if I get an opportunity, it should not be like they strike my name because what do you say, just because I don't have any kernel experience on the thing. By the way, I do see that we are getting close to an hour. Maybe we can continue later on. It's a long story.
No, maybe
I
I
guess we
think
can continue till Intel opportunities.
Sure.
I think I'm much more into the story now.
Okay.
So I want to know how you got into Intel.
Right. So then, I think it's
don't leave us
fair.
hanging, man.
So we'll end on Intel for this time in today's podcast, and maybe next time let's just continue forward journey to Google and then all the other companies I interviewed at. Okay, so then the offer is rolled back. I'm not very happy about it. 1 month goes by. I'm still trying to figure out. So
last 30 days
yep,
of your
on
internship.
the edge. But I'm talking about like T minus 60 to T minus 30 now. Right? The last but 1
30.
month.
Yeah.
So
and between that period, you have like tried your best. You have sort of started working on some projects, pushed it on GitHub, added those links to your resume, and tried to be as much prepared as you can from your
so
end.
what I knew was my college's name would not favor me. Manipal, I thought it would favor, but not as much. Not like an IIT or NIT, right? Definitely no. That's what I perceived it to be. So the only other thing I could do was skew the focus towards the personal projects that I'm doing. Right? So memory manager served me well. The character driver that I wrote served me well. So now Intel internally had like a mass hiring drive for different interns. So I showed up there.
Okay.
They asked me some kernel related questions. Obviously, like I shit my pants there because had no real experience on the kernel. So they moved on. So I didn't get that either. And I'm now desperate and in despair almost, how things are going to work out for me. And I did not want to go back to the same state after KC, which is second shot at employment is
because
gone.
it was dreadful.
Right.
Yeah.
So then Mathworks, some of my friends were trying at Mathworks. One of my classmates got converted in Mathworks. She was interning there. She told me that, hey, you should go apply on their website. And I was like, come on, man. Nobody responds to an online application. Who does? Right? That is how I was perceiving it. But anyways, I went ahead and applied. They had a process where I had to, record my introduction and upload a video, something of that nature. They had an online round that went well. Again, basic C questions, pointers, this, that. Called me on site. Went through 4 rounds of interviewing. By the way, the earlier Intel interview that I was referring to, I went through 4 rounds there as well, right?
Oh, earlier meaning the kernel
No,
team
no,
which
prior
took
to
the
that, the
mass
one who
hiring drive.
offered me, and then there was a hiring.
The board design
Yes.
team.
So
Okay.
4 rounds there, and now 4 rounds at Mathworks. They asked me to solve some mathematical integration equation, matrix multiplication using code.
Oh,
It was simple. Looking
okay.
back, it was straightforward, for loops and this and that. But man, I was struggling. But I felt I managed to impress the technical folks. Right. There were two
And this would be what, T minus what?
T
How
minus
many days?
45-ish.
40,
So 45
45
days to
okay.
screw up. So this happens then. I should mention back then they had 2 types of interviews, or at least what I perceived to be 2 types. One was just technical. One was leaning towards mathematics a little bit and coding a little bit, C and matrices and all of that. Then the other class of interviews were more towards how I work in a team. So if there is a pressure deadline, how do you react? One of the solutions you provided is not working. There is a deadline. How do you react? One of your teammates is out. How do you react? Blah, blah, blah. The answers to those kind of questions usually is you should give away that you are cooperative, that you will seek a solution, or you will expose the situation to seniors just so that they can come in. Risk reduction, essentially, that is the key in such situations. That happened. Then I had the HR round where I screwed up. So the HR asked me, hey, you are interning at Intel, you'll get an offer from there. Why should we consider you at Mathworks? And I was like, there's no hope of me getting converted there, and I'm looking for one. And he was convinced with that. Then he asked me, how much would you want to get paid? And I quoted some ridiculous number. And he understood that they cannot match that number. And I suppose, again, I don't know the reason why they never returned back to me, but my hope is, or my hunch is, that was the reason, that they saw me as I dreamt too big for that salary number, so they didn't come back.
So how many kgs of
I
oranges did you
demanded
demand from them?
about 24-ish kgs of apples. 24,000.
24,000 kg
kgs
of oranges.
24,000.
oranges, and they were like, bye. So I felt that that.
So till then, I think you would be the first one who has screwed up what, 3-4 HR rounds, passing all the
two HR
hurdles,
rounds,
and
one at the
then
TCS, and just because I was
one at the
naive and
TCS,
just straight up. Yeah,
you
I
could
cannot
not
still
lie.
lie.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand the spirit of the question. What I should have, by the way, okay, here's the thing. So 2 of my other friends were applying, and to both of them, when they consulted me, I suggested that, hey, just be yourself, but when the HR asks you, what is your expectation from the salary standpoint, you just answer this industry standard. Done. Don't go to number, just get out. And both of them got the job. Right.
Don't go about
number.
demanding 24,000
You be like, give me
kgs of
industry
orange.
standard.
Malik,
Exactly.
Malik, jo doge
Whatever
le
you give, I
lenge.
shall accept. And I that was my learning from that I was so close, and I would I would get that job, except I was just being stupid in that HR round.
Okay. So Piyush, what changed? Initially, you were asking for 30K.
Nice.
Then was the Intel pay influenced your
See, the thing is, I
thinking?
saw Mathworks as a company that could pay well, that pays well, like really well. And I saw the opportunity to. So here's the thing. I saw that the HR is asking me how much money would solve my problems. And I just quoted based on that. And that was a mistake. They were not interested in, how much I want. They were more interested in, can we afford you? Right. That's what I didn't anticipate and answer accordingly.
Hmm.
But now I thoroughly understand how these games are played. I'm a pro now almost.
Hmm.
Anyways, so back to the Intel
Hmm.
story. So I screw up and despair.
Hmm.
I continue to go back to my internship. I'm searching and applying online. I apply at ARM, I apply at all sort of places, NXP, this, that, many places. No one returned back. Apparently, Costo, who is working with us now, but who was my mentor back at Intel, so
Yeah.
their team had one position, and there were 15 interns in my group. Oh, by the way, I should also mention my team had one opening, right? And they did not hire me.
Okay.
So there were 15 interns from different colleges who were working with in my team. There was one
Hmm.
position. They interviewed all of us. I kind of screwed up that interview as well. This was way before Mathworks. This was like T minus 50. And then 1 week later, I interviewed at Mathworks. So they interviewed me this, that. My mentor kind of knew that, he would pick me up, or that's what he told me later. But they ended up picking one of my other friends, and just because he had some working experience, or at least, well, not just because he was definitely smart, but that one thing played in his favor when evaluating like who we should hire. Everybody did good in the interviews. They have a good working history, but he has working experience, so they pulled him up. So no job for me anywhere. And then the sibling team, Bluetooth team, so they had an opening, and they went looking for whom to hire, and they interviewed all of us again, the 14 of us. Out of 15, one got converted in the same team.
Okay.
Right, 14 remaining.
One got converted.
Wow.
And what would
T
this time
minus
be?
30.
T minus what?
So I've bombed Mathworks.
30.
Yep.
So
It's like
right
1
on the
month to
brink
go
of,
and then die.
right on the brink of
So
1 month.
man, borderline escaped
Okay.
unemployment, or the struggle of being in the open market again. So then what happens is Kostov and Ajit, Kostov and Ajit.
Kostov, amazing guy. He interviewed me as well.
We will.
I think we should invite
definitely,
him.
So
sometime
he
in our
interviews,
podcast.
he and Ajit interview me. Oh God, they ask me dynamic programming problem straight in data structures, because the kind of interviewer Kostov is, he's wanting to look at if the person can think or not. He was not interested in the solution. It was like, can Piyush think or not? He quizzed me all over the place, man. Some gold rod, something, cut it, optimize it, knapsack, this, that. And again, the best thing, they took like 2.5 hours, they interviewed me, grilled me essentially, and I made as much progress as I could. Pretty much figured the solution there. It wasn't complete, but Costa was convinced that I can stress my brain to think right. And that's what mattered for him, I suppose. By the way, I went back to Balaji, asking him multiple times, hey, why did you pick me? Why did you select? Like, there were 300 other people back at SOIS. You could have just picked them. Why me? And somewhere he educated me on the fact that a technical aspect is not everything. They look for technical qualification, and then beyond that, can we work with this person? Can they work with us? Yeah.
Again, I think this is a very important point to highlight. Like, most of the times in interview, people, it is expected that you arrive at the solution, but even an approximate solution or the general direction, if it is towards solution, but you expose those characteristics of being a dependable teammate, being a person whom you can work
And
with,
obviously,
is a
having the
huge win.
technical hunger and the technical, interest. You can't fool people just by being, hey, I'm easy to work with, but have no idea of the technology. That wouldn't fly. Anyway, so I would quiz Balaji on that, and then years later, I also quizzed Costo on that. It's like, why did you pick me? And Costo exactly again
Cost.
mentioned the same reason, that it felt as though it was easy to work with and guide. So, okay, Kostov and Ajit interviewed all others. They then took a second round and they just asked me, interesting puzzles. They were like, there is a wave like something, you need to wave like numbers, different ranges, sort them. How would you do it? Stack, queues, pop, this, that, push, pop. What I understand was one of the interns had aced all the interviews technically, wrote end-to-end code and all of that, but it was just that given a problem, they couldn't probe her more. She just completed the solution. So they got no more insight apart from given a problem, she solves it. And it was a she. That is what I recall. But anyways, I think there were other traits that they found, missing, or they found that she would suffocate there because the team is not that much heavy on algorithms. Whatever, they ended up making a choice with me, and I got my job. And this is interesting because
2016
yes, and
May. Finally,
and
Piyush has a.
I should mention the last thing, which is T minus 30ish. I interview T minus 25. They interview me again because they are trying to see for the deal breaker thing, to whom to pick up. Sorry, and then T minus 20. I have a chat with Anand, who was the manager there. And he quizzed me. He asked me about heated light bulbs, figure out two, three switches, something. He quizzed me also. And then he was like, hey, I'm kidding. You're on board.
Piyush, I'm imagining, Piyush would be, that character from that movie. I don't remember the movie, but the dialogue is like, "Ye dukh kahe khatam nahi hota."
That happened. Anand was amazing. So he was like, hey, welcome aboard. I will, and having been burned earlier from like the Intel group that they offered me and then rolled back. So I kept a tab, like check with Anand. I would, go back to him and be like, kab aa raha hai, when is it coming? 10 days later, my offer letter was with me. I looked at my salary. It was, roughly 20,000, oranges worth. And I was happy that, my family now is financially, I can contribute to my family. And I had no idea what I would do in the Bluetooth team. They hired me for Bluetooth host stack development, and thanks to Kostov and all the wonderful people there, they let me grow there for the next 2 years. And we'll talk about, what happened from there to Google. How did that unfold? And got my offer. Last 5 days, like I got my offer letter, 5 days to go. Then I took like a week off, and 13th of June 2016, I showed up at my first day at work. Intel Bluetooth team, yeah, awesome. सूट बूट में आया कन्हैया, कन्हैया को कुछ नहीं आता.
So if I have to summarize, and I will take these two important points from your whole conversation, is so it's not about solving the complete problem. It's about what matters the most in an interview is how much are you ready to learn and grow. If you are ready to learn and grow, irrespective whether you solve the complete question or not, doesn't matter. And what happens is a lot of candidates get demotivated because they didn't arrive at the final situation. But that is not what actually the interviewers are looking for. That is not, even if I am taking interview, that is not
maybe
actually
I'll just extend your statement to not all of the interviewers are, that way. Few of them are just hell-bent on wanting the right solution down to the, like, read my mind.
Yes.
That's their approach. And I've had those experiences as well. By the way, there was a company where I was asked, do you remember or are you able to recall the English alphabet? Like A, B, C, D. That was rude and, very hurtful, but interviewers need to be nice. Yeah. Go ahead, Rajat.
And the second thing I will take from all this conversation, right, with all your interviews, what you did is instead of getting demotivated, You
Yeah.
learned where
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
have gone wrong, went
Definitely.
back, and
Yeah.
tried to improve yourself on that point.
Right.
And that's a
Hmm.
very
I do that
important
to
point to
this day,
do.
by the way.
Hmm.
Not for interviews, but whenever I'm interviewing
Hmm.
someone, I tend to kind of learn
Hmm.
from their experience. And when I'm talking to higher ups,
Hmm.
I tend to try and learn how to talk to people. And by the
Hmm.
way, just like a one-liner suggestion to all: learn as much as you can from as many fields as you can, just so that you can talk to experts. So the experts would be interested in
Yeah.
continuing to answer your questions, just so that you can have a conversation. Yeah,
Hmm.
cool. I think. Would you guys say that we
Yeah.
can pause here for today and then take on more experiences next
Yeah.
time?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
True.
Hmm.
True. I think you, Piyush, hearing this journey,
Oh
I
man,
would say
yeah,
you have come a
definitely,
long way, man.
definitely.
Seriously.
Hmm.
Yeah. And just we'll end on this last thought. If you were to advise, our viewers, like, looking back, in hindsight,
Man, I
what
would
would be
just
the key
summarize
thing?
it
Just
this way:
one.
you can always crawl out of hell 1 inch at a time.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Very nicely said.
just be at
Yes,
it.
that's, I think, yeah, we will leave,
Yeah.
that to
Cool.
interview questions.
Yeah. Yes.
Very nice. And thank you for,
Sure.
for sharing this, and, being comfortable in your own skin, sharing it, being open, completely open, sharing it all, honestly, truthfully.
Yeah.
Thanks. We'll see.
Sure.
We'll
Absolutely.
continue this next
And
time.
those who have stayed long, thank
Sure.
you for sticking around. Yeah.